How you doing, guys? I'll tell you what, I'm going to do a part 2 of can Crawford beat Pacquiao, because I can't really think of much else to talk about at the moment in boxing. I've covered quite a lot of the other fights. I am going to cover my thoughts on Errol Spence and Crawford, what my prediction is or what I think about that fight, and get your guys' thoughts and opinions. So I appreciate all the comments. It's been a lot of fun doing this channel. It's quite new, as I said. There's no pressure at all, I'm just having fun. But I appreciate there's so many comments and inputs, it's great. So, yeah, I'm just thinking about the fight. I've been going online, looking at other channels and videos just to kind of see, is this fight going to happen? Because I'm not 100%, but I'm hearing that Manny Pacquiao's in training camp and he's either going to fight Terence Crawford or it's going to be Sean Porter. To be honest, I like Sean Porter a lot. He's a nice guy, he's a really good fighter, but I'm not really that excited to see that fight, Manny against Sean Porter. If he's going to fight Manny, I want to see him fight Crawford. It'd still be an exciting fight, but it'll be a bit of a letdown fighting Sean Porter at this stage and not Crawford. So my kind of thoughts are, yeah, of course Crawford can beat Pacquiao, but I was thinking, can Crawford beat an informed Manny Pacquiao, like the Pacquiao that fought Thurman? Like a lot of you said in the comments, Keith Thurman is he's a really big puncher and he wasn't able to knock Manny out. And if Manny comes in and he's got the same speed or he's even faster as he usually is, and he's just on form and he's up for it, that's going to be really difficult for anyone. And I mean, can Terence Crawford cope with that? But I think if Manny comes in and he has an off day, an off night, and he's not informed, then it will be, Terence Crawford will win the fight. But yeah, like I said, so far my prediction hasn't changed. I see Crawford edging the fight on points, but I'm still going to go with Manny. I still think Manny can beat him, especially if he's motivated. And I think if he takes a fight, that means he is motivated. But I just hope at the moment that it's not just going to be all talk, and Crawford or Manny, either one of them, or the teams, the business side, they're not going to pull out after kind of getting all of us hyped up. But I'm always prepared for that in boxing, because you don't want to get you don't want to get disappointed. So you've always got to kind of take merit that it might not happen this fight. But if Manny's in training camp, yeah, he will be fighting someone. But I don't really want to see him fight Mikey Garcia or Sean Porter. I would have liked to have seen him fight those guys maybe 2 years ago. But I think right now the only fight any of us are interested when Manny's concerned is Crawford. And obviously Errol Spence would be another good fight, but I wouldn't fancy that fight. I think that would be even more dangerous for Manny, just because of Errol Spence is brilliant, just because how big and strong he is and at this stage. But then again, I might as well say it now. I've always thought it's a hard fight to. It's hard to give you an answer, but I've always fancied Crawford to beat Errol Spence. It's so 50-50 fight for me, and I think they're both brilliant fighters. And when they first came about, I preferred Errol Spence. I liked his style more. But as I've started to, watch Crawford and see the way he adapts to fights, I just think he's just a bit cuter and sharper in those different areas. It doesn't mean for sure that he can beat Spence. I'm not 100% 50-50 fight, but if I had to pick a winner, I fancy Terence Crawford to edge it again. It will be a close fight. I think it will be on points. I don't think he's going to knock Errol Spence out, or I don't think Spence is going to knock Crawford out. I think this is going to be a technical chess match. By the way, guys, if I'm bleeding, it's not because I've been fighting or sparring, it's because I shaved and I cut myself shaving, right? So it's not a big deal for me, but some people make a big deal out of it online. If you've got a cut or a mark, everyone focuses on that and not the topic of the video. So I suppose we're just continuing the conversation from the last video that I've done. It seems most people that come to this channel are Manny fans like me, but I still like Terence Crawford a lot. And when Manny retires, those guys, him and Spence, probably be my favourite fighters, and Canelo. But as it stands, Manny's my all-time favourite boxer, probably like a lot of you. So I really want him to win. I really want him to do it. But I hope they get the fight on. If they're going to do it, it's got to happen this year. Surely it couldn't happen in 2022. It's just Manny's just getting older and older and older. And even though he's defying, the laws of science and his age, because he's a super athlete, you do have to kind of accept the fact that at some point you are going to be too old to compete at the level that you once was. So it's not just age, it's not just that he's 42, right? Because, to me, 42 is still a baby, it's still young. But in terms of boxing, how long he's been fighting, in terms of the wars he's been in the fights, even though he's won most of them, he has had some, has been in a lot of wars in the earlier days, the fights of Berba and Eric Morales, and obviously the fights of Marquez. So, how much can you take? And obviously with having a family, and obviously he's involved in politics in the Philippines, and I hear things like he wants to become the president, right? And I think that's brilliant. So how can you juggle those two? How can you keep that up? There must be a lot of pressure. But again, this is just my opinion, speculation. But all the great fighters who kept going on too long, eventually they got beat. It happened to Hopkins. I remember thinking he's never going to get beaten. He went for a run of it was like Hopkins is still fighting. He's 45, he's 46, he's 47, and then did he retire at 50? I can't remember, something like that. He got beaten, didn't he, by lesser named fighters that would never have beaten him, not even in his prime, even a couple of years before that, or in his prime, no chance. So I've never wanted to see that happen to Manny. That's always for me been something that I don't want to see him get old overnight and get beaten by. Obviously, Terence Crawford's not a lesser fighter, but in my honest opinion, I don't think any of these guys today beat a prime Manny. I just think he's a level above all of them. I really do. I really mean that. But obviously, the guys today are super talented. I mean, the Spencers and the Crawfords and the Canelos are just, they're on that level. But I just think Manny is he's just a bit more special, and just his heart and just his fitness and that relentless hand speed and the amount of punches he throws. It's very, very hard to beat someone when they're in their prime. And just when Manny had that momentum, like I said in the last video, where he was just fighting the best and just going through them like a knife through butter. It was just destroying people, and just going up and down weight divisions. And what always impressed me, that to me, Manny's not a big guy. He's not like a big man. He doesn't have a big frame. He doesn't have like massive muscles. He's just a super athlete, but he's so strong. He's so much stronger than, to state the obvious, than he looks. And when he gets in with bigger guys, he just beats them around the ring like they're nothing. It's almost unbelievable to see that fight with. If you ever watch Manny Pacquiao, they say size don't matter, and we say that sometimes size does matter. Sometimes it doesn't matter. In Manny's case, size doesn't matter. But there are, obviously there's weight. If that was the case, then a bantamweight could fight heavyweight. So, size does matter to a certain extent. But with Manny, size has never mattered. He's always been the smaller fighter. Even Freddie Roach said it. He said he doesn't even walk around at welterweight. He weighs like 138, 140. So he's never really been a natural welterweight, Pacquiao. He's always really been lighter than that. He's always really been 140 or 135, 140, a light welterweight, or you guys in the States call it, is it junior welterweight? I get mixed up. In London, in England, we call it light welterweight, welterweight. You guys call it junior, isn't it? Junior. So that's interesting. But I just think it's a great mashup, Crawford and Pacquiao, because they're not big welterweights. They're both quite small in stature, but they're both physically so strong and fit. So I like that matchup. I would feel a lot more nervous if Pacquiao was fighting Errol Spence for some reason, even though a lot of people have said Manny can outspeed him, and I 100% believe he can do it. But the thing with me is, the longer this goes on, the more you're saying to yourself, what's Manny going to be like? Is he going to be like his last fight, which he was brilliant against Thurman? And obviously, people are saying that's not prime Manny, but that was still a peak performance. That was, go back and watch that fight. Look at the things he did, the hand speed, it just an all-round great performance. And look at the shots that he took. It didn't even get rocked. He just walked through it. And we know how strong Thurman is. And look at the way he put him down, and it was unbelievable. So if he comes in like that, I'm really confident that he can get a decision, or he can beat. Who knows? Maybe he can stop Crawford. But it'll be so fascinating to see the styles. That's what I'm excited. I just want to see these two elite fighters, just the honor of watching those styles in the ring and just seeing those skills, you know, playing out. It's for me, it's a really fascinating fight. And to be honest, I've kind of given up and got frustrated with, you know, the Crawford-Spence fight, because that just seems like that's not going to happen for years. So I'm just going to forget about it, and if it happens, it happens. I'm not going to waste my time and energy on getting up for the fight and saying, why isn't it going to happen? I don't know why it's not happening, because they're not getting any younger now. They're in their 30s and they're both in their prime, and they're still priming, getting better. And they've beaten most of the fighters in the division. I mean, at some point they're going to run out of people to fight. How many fighters can Errol Spence beat? He's beaten he's beat Sean Porter, a great fighter. He's beat a great fighter, Danny Garcia, and the same with Crawford. He's beaten Amir Khan. He's beaten Jeff Horn. He's beaten Kell Brook. They're kind of like beaten everybody. They've got to fight each other at some point. That's the fight that everyone wants to see. Really, Pacquiao shouldn't really be stepping in at his stage to take on these guys. It should be really those guys fighting each other. But again, that's just my opinion. That's why we talk boxing on this channel. So yeah, Crawford can beat Manny if he comes in on form, but I'm sure he's gonna have a lot of. I'm sure deep down he's going to have a lot of fear, and he's going to have a lot of pressure as well going in against the legend. It must be intimidating. Obviously, even though, I know Crawford is an exceptionally confident fighter, a very confident fighter person. You can see that, the way he carries himself, even the way he came in. I was always impressed, not just by his boxing ability, by his self-confidence, the way he just manages the nerves, the way he just comes in and he's just cool as ice. The way he comes into the fights, he's intimidating as well. He's got that intimidation factor. The way he comes in, just his aura. He has that. Crawford has that. He has that supreme confidence that intimidates a lot of fighters. And so I'm just interested to see the psychology, the build up, the weigh-in, and the actual fight. It's going to be electric. But if it doesn't happen, then I suppose we can't really complain. Look at the career Manny's given us. He fought so many great fights. So, and then hopefully Crawford will have to fight Spence. They fight each other. But if it doesn't happen, if the Manny Crawford fight doesn't happen and the Spence Crawford fight, who's going to be next to Crawford? I could see Crawford end up fighting. What's that guy's name? Who just beaten, of course, Josh Kelly, David Avanesian. I could see that fight happening. I could see that making sense. It's kind of like, again, another fight. I still want to see it. I still think Crawford will win that. He'll definitely beat Avanesian, but Avanesian will give him a tough fight. He's that kind of fighter, but I think he's made for Crawford. He comes forward, and with Crawford's style, when you just come forward at him and try and knock him out, I think he loves that. He'll just pick you apart and knock you out. But you never know. So other than Avanesian, who else? I can't think of who else Crawford could fight, unless some of the other guys from the lighter weights, Teofimo Lopez, move up or they move down or something like that. Anyway, that's it today, guys. I'm a bit tired. I'm going to get some food. Thanks for tuning in. I really appreciate it, and I'll read your comments, and if you want me to talk about any other fights, let me know, and I'm more than happy to talk about those fights. Let's see what happens.